Welcome to the first annual DevSecOps Bash. This is a part of DC Cyber Week put on by CyberScoop, our friends at CyberScoop. And we thought at RunSafe it'd be nice to do our own version of a cybersecurity discussion. If you're participating on social media, we would love for you to participate with any of the hashtags or their handles up there. And so our format today is pretty interesting. We've got two people who have been dedicated to advancing the mission in the U.S. government. Doug Wolf, which we'll introduce to him in a minute, brought cloud to the Intel community and brought that with security in mind as well. And our theme, much like what Doug had done, is driving innovation, putting innovation and technology into the hands of users to fulfill missions and accelerate the adoption of technology, but doing that in a secure way. And we thought that was a nice complement to what Nicolas is doing at the DoD as Chief Software Officer of the Air Force. And he's certainly, with his DevSecOps initiative, right, he is driving innovation, bringing technology and making our military more competitive, ultimately, but doing that also in a secure way. And so for those who are familiar with DevSecOps, this should look pretty familiar. This is taken from Nicolas in his charts, but I won't go through all the details. I just want to highlight on the left-hand side, there's all these tools as part of a build process in your software development process. And on the right-hand side, the things you need to deploy and monitor, what a lot of people call the deploy tool chain, and then ongoing monitoring and all the things you need to do for a good software, a complete software development process and management thereof. And so we'll talk about this in more detail when we get to Nicolas's session. But as a company, RunSafe has learned something pretty interesting about our own technology, which is building security into the software development process. And one of the things that we've learned is that as you go from waterfall to agile to DevOps and now DevSecOps, the person making decisions around security is no longer the head of security. It's no longer the CISO. It's the person who's responsible for the software development process. And this is coming from Gartner, in fact, where the head of software development is making decisions about what tools their teams would be using. So, that decision is changing over time. And naturally, I said, RunSafe builds security into the process. We're not going to spend too much time on RunSafe itself, but I do want to just comment on the overall agenda. So in a couple minutes, Doug's going to speak about his experience driving innovation with cloud and what he's doing today. And then Nicolas and I are going to have a conversation around DevSecOps in general. Okay, so up next is our DevSecOps discussion. So we're lucky to have Nicolas Chaillan.
Almost.
Who's here. And he is driving the DevSecOps initiative at the U.S. Air Force, of course, across the DoD.
It's me jumping right here. No, it's not true.
Just as background, Nicolas was Special Advisor of Cybersecurity at DHS, Special Advisor of Cybersecurity and DevOps in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense, and is now responsible, as I said, as Chief Software Officer of the Air Force. And so we are going to talk about, we have a number of questions. There'll be a chance for others to ask questions. And I've got a couple to kind of kick us off. And we certainly want to build upon what Doug talked about. And so there's a nice complement here. And so, Nicolas, if you would, just give us an overview of your DevSecOps program and how that fits in together and how you're rolling that out today.
Sure. So, good afternoon. What's pretty interesting when I started, I think, 15 months ago now, beyond the fact that I'm a French guy in the Pentagon, is that we are trying to really bring DevSecOps across the department. And so I still have kind of two hats, right? I'm the co-lead for DevSecOps for the Department of Defense, and I'm the Chief Software for the Air Force. When we started, we had a lot of different great initiatives around DevOps, not a lot of DevSecOps, and I'll kind of share what I think is the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps. But really, when we started, we had Kessel Run and other teams doing great work with DevOps, pushing innovations, delivering software rapidly, and a lot thanks to Doug and enabling us to have access to the IC Cloud, which we still use right now. So that opened the door to doing really meaningful classified deployments as well. So we're really trying to unify and enable teams, so you can think of it as enterprise capabilities, so we don't reinvent the wheel and spend the same amount of time and money, if not 10 times, because teams have different type of abilities to get it done. And really bring first an agnostic stack that will not get us locked into a platform, not get us locked into a cloud provider. So we picked Kubernetes to orchestrate our stack. It's really kind of the orchestration tool of choice right now on the commercial side. So then we don't have to pick a vendor and then be locked into that stack. The second aspect was containers and being able to accredit containers DoD-wide. So still people don't know today that my office can take a container from companies or from the open source communities and get it accredited all the way up to the SAP, the special access program, the highest clearance in the department, and have that central entry point, very much like when I legally moved to the United States through immigration, right? You have that central, my dear friend at DHS, where I had to give my prints 20 times. I don't know how that happened. But my fingers didn't change so much in 5 years. But so that's very interesting. Again, back to having a central entry point for the Department of Defense to adopt new startups, capabilities, new DevOps tools, and also open source tools. A lot of people still are afraid, I feel, of open source. I still read an email this morning saying, the Department of Defense should not use open source software. And when I tell them our entire stack is based on open source, I think they have a heart attack or something. So
well, it gets to kind of a point that even Doug touched on, and the question touched on, which is, I think one of the benefits ultimately is the continuous ATO. So how did you get to that stage with adoption of kind of that kind of benefit, authorization to operate, and continuous ATO?
Yeah, so the process of the continuous ATO started with Casa Run. They were the first team in DoD to be able to get that accredited. The issue we had with that was the ability to scale and have reciprocity across the department. So we could deploy, but then we were in situations where we were trying to bring it into different environments, and the existing authorizing officials will not agree to deploy the software, or it would be slower than we hoped to do that. And so with this new kind of approach with the DoD Enterprise DevSecOps initiative, we can take anything coming out of the software factory at the pipeline that's accredited DoD-wide and deploy it to production DoD-wide with complete reciprocity. And we even have all dear friends at the IC that it also accept the same reciprocity now. And we can push containers across all classifications from unclassed to secret to TS, and no human in the loop, complete integrity checks and scanning and all the basics of cyber. But really that baked-in security is what gives us the ability to trust the continuous ATO process. So we accredit the teams and the process. It's not so much about, sure, the tech enables the process, but it's really about making sure that the CI/CD pipeline, the continuous integration, continuous delivery pipeline can go all the way from planning to development to the testing, automated testing, security scanning. And the key for us, and that's the DevOps versus DevSecOps, is the continuous monitoring side and the monitoring of behavior and zero trust model we bring to the production stack.
And so there's a number of programs that you're working with, that both in the Air Force and across the DoD. So what are some good examples of DevSecOps programs that you're involved in and that the Department of Defense is pursuing?
Yeah, we have 37 Pathfinders now across the Department of Defense between Army, Navy, and the Air Force, and also the Force Estate. So we really pretty much have all the big programs between Aegis in the Navy, Compiled to Combat in 24 hours in the Navy, where we can push software to production on a Navy ship within 24 hours. We have, of course, Casa Run, F-16, F-15, F-22, F-35, GBSD, all the nuclear ICBM, important stuff. We have the Joint AI Center with Jake. So it's pretty much covering unified platform, cyber offense, defense, space C2 stuff. So we're really covering every aspect between the business side of the house, the weapon system side, and I even have a surprise at KubeCon for people that are going to join us in November at KubeCon. We're gonna show you what we've done with F-16 and Kubernetes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so KubeCon is in November in San Diego, I believe, this year. And so, just kind of building on that, so embedded systems across, programs like this, are you rolling out embedded systems in the same way?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When we started, of course, we wanted to have a full, complete automation between environments. And the key aspect of our DevSecOps stack is containerization between all these different enclaves. So we have a complete automation, no human in the loop. And between your tests, dev, test, staging, production enclaves, you would have a complete parity and making sure there is no drift between environments. That's thanks to the containers. And if you think of a big program like a weapon system that have embedded systems, not only they have to make sure the entire lifespan is automated and we get updates and we kill containers every 4 hours so that the updates are streamlined every 4 hours and that it's game changing by itself, having that automation of updates. But then if on top of that you can now deploy the production stack, the container stack into the production stack, into the embedded system itself. So let's say the jet or the weapon system. Now you benefit from the stack we're pushing on the cyber side, which is doing this continuous monitoring, behavior detection, zero trust enforcement, scanning, of course, the basic scanning of CVs and signatures, which is something that's already baked in, but really the behavior side and detecting kind of the runtime and any malicious activity proactively, right? And really limiting the lateral movement, right? So zero trust onto the container level and really whitelisting any communication channels.
Absolutely. So I'm going to open up for questions to the crowd, but just one other question. I have a couple others after that, after others ask. But so you were an entrepreneur, and I think you built your first product that you sold commercially when you were 15 or 16 years old, and you fast forward to today, and now you're. So what brought you from entrepreneurship to the mission and serving the country in this way and driving innovation? That. So can you walk us through that path?
Yeah, I think I started. I was 15. I created my first company back in France. We grew to 450 people in 12 countries, and it was an interesting path. 12 companies. I founded over the last 20, I guess, years. I'm 35. I'm old and stuff. So I think it's first, yeah, sure. Having a French guy, SES equivalent, whatever, in the Pentagon is pretty rare. But what's interesting for me, first at DHS, I wanted to make a difference. And when you look at what we built on the commercial side, whether it's a mobile application or touch tables or whatever, cool stuff I built, it was never as impactful. Sure, we made a lot of money. It was great. But we were never able to really have the impact I'm seeing. DHS was interesting. I think, the cyber stack we pushed at DHS was game changing. We were pushing zero trust back when people didn't even know what it was, and even maybe today, I guess, 3 years later, 4 years later. But the DoD side, I think, was another level for me. I think I never had trouble sleeping, before even having a lot of money on the table and a lot of people. I think for the first time in 35 years, I have trouble sleeping. I think there's a lot of risk. If we mess up with nuclear technology and jets, there's lives at stake. There's China, really targeting us and trying to hack us, trying to steal stuff. It's a big impact. I think that's where I find a lot of people willing to be able to come and help. I think we have a very horrific process to hire talent and make sure we can retain them. It's not just the pay cut we have to take. It's just the whole process, right? 3 to 8 months. The clearance is nonsense. I actually got my clearance after I left DHS. That was pretty cool.
Okay, so happy to open up for a couple questions in the crowd. So please.
Great, thank you for your time talking about the DevOps transformation. When I think about DevOps, I think of the three ways. You've got fast flow, you've got feedback, and the third way tied to continuous improvement experimentation. If you'd speak to how you encourage a culture to emphasize continuous improvement and experimentation.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest aspects is to fail fast, and I always say don't fail twice for the same reason. That's where I'm less happy. But the key aspect is really to change the culture. I think we need to measure the learning curve that it takes to innovate. I think we sometimes think that we shouldn't be able to fail by expecting that we should already know what the right path is. And many times when you don't invent something pretty interesting, that should be the case, and you should already know how to get it done, right? That's where there's a little bit less excuse to fail. But when you really truly innovate, and what we're building is pretty often something that's never been done before, that's where I feel we should really enable the teams and not measure them based on that success factor, but how quickly they were able to learn and change and pivot, right? And that's really the key aspect. And it's really a cultural thing, both on the federal side and the contractual side as well.
Please.
From a development team perspective, from working in DoD, we're really interested in Stigs. What's the future of that? Is it going to change? How will it change? And is there a movement to maybe automate testing around the team's implementation of those Stigs and plug it into all of them?
Sure. Are you really interested of Stigs, or you're kidding? No, I'm kidding with you. Or you just need to do it. That's two different things. So all our containers are stigged, baked in, and so we do it for you, so you don't have to do it, which is great. So our operating systems and databases and all the container stack is already stigged. That being said, a lot of the Stig process is not helpful for containers. So we do what's really helpful, and we don't do what's not helpful, and we have a waiver to do that. We actually are building the container Stigs to change the way we even think about Stigs for containers, because as you know, it's not supposed to be used by humans. You're not going to log in. You don't need CAC, authentication, because I'm not connecting to the container itself. So there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make sense when it comes to the Stig. So, but the good news for you is it's already accredited, already passing the Stigs, and you don't have to worry about that.
From an app perspective, do you have any opinions on that part?
Yeah, so we have 16 programming languages we support, from Java, C, C++, and all the modern Python, Go. Those containers are also stigged as much as possible. There's always the application Stig Delta, which barely anyone uses anymore, thank God. But there's always a Delta that's still left for the teams to do. But quite honestly, we really are trying to push to security baked in and not so much compliance, useless compliance.
I think we have a question here.
Yeah, so thank you for the talk, and I have a simple but loaded question perhaps. What does the next 5 years look like for DevSecOps? We're just getting started in this, landscape, but I'm curious to get your perspective on what that looks like.
5 years is a lifetime. I don't know. I can probably tell 2 years, but 5 years, I'm not that good. But I think the key aspect of DevSecOps is, people started DevOps running on VMs and really having environment that are not automated. I think we're moving to what we call GitOps, where everything is infrastructure as code, automation, the source code is your source of truth. That's going to be a massive change, not just for the testing teams, but also for the cyber teams. I don't think even people realize on the cyber side how much of a change that's going to be in terms of the talent pool, right? Because if you think of the way we need to make change now, if I have a container and I need to make a change on it, I need to go and change the source code of that container. And I'm not going to log in production and make a change, because I kill containers every 4 hours and it restarts from immutable state, right? So if I have to make a change, I have to go back to the container, which means code change, which means I have to be a developer now. So if I have a cyber tool that's showing me vulnerabilities or something I have to fix, if it's not actually proactively proposing me to change the code and doing a pull request or merge request to my GitHub or GitLab or whatever source code I have, it's worthless to me, because it's just showing me an issue and not fixing it, right? So if I have a cyber product that can go, and that's what kind of we're pushing now with this immutable state of production runtime and going back to the source code and making a change there. And so you can think of cyber tools pretty soon will just make code change that you approve, and that triggers your pipeline and redeploy the container, right? So I think that's going to be the big shift of the next, I would say 2, maybe 5 years for DoD, right? But maybe 2 years on the commercial side. Where GitOps is going to become the central kind of model.
And in the meantime, hardening those vulnerabilities, there's a lot of different options to do that.
Yeah, and I think there is, of course, the static dynamic. There is the binary hardening that RunSafe can do. There is the container security scanning of the twist lock, Aqua, Black Duck, and whatever else. Bill of material, being able to know all your dependencies. We're pushing automation on every layer, including 508 compliance, NIST mapping. And there's stuff that are just compliance that I do to check the box, and stuff that actually bring real security, right?
So we'll come back to you in just a second. So we were talking beforehand, and we've talked about this in the past, that outside of the software world, Nicolas has a lot of different interests. He builds furniture, he plays chess, and he even chops down trees and does all that. But in chess, I mean, you have a pretty high rating in chess. Is that right? And
that's true.
What is your rating in chess?
I forgot. I'm pretty good. I was 97% of the world. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that good.
What was it? International Master, man?
No, but I'm not in that level, but I was like on the chess.com, I think.
Chess.com.
Top 93% or whatever.
So who was the last person to beat you in chess in person?
So to put some context to it though, right? I had never played on a real chessboard. I only play on mobile, right? So that's a good thing of being young and stuff, unlike you. So he had a board, and I had never used one of those before, so I was like still struggling to even understand how that stuff moved around. And so he won the one time. But then how many times did I win after that? I forgot. Like
Maybe
20?
once.
I forgot. So I just got used to the board.
On a more serious note, real question here.
So, yeah, actually, your last answer led into this. So, I'm completely on to, DevSec and SecOps. I kind of separate them.
Sure.
DevSec being your engineering, your system design, your operational staff being over in the SecOps, your continuous monitoring, incident response, etc.
Yep.
There's kind of this third pillar of cyber that gets ignored, and it's really important in the open space. It's your compliance and security policy. And what I've seen is that security policies really haven't updated in mass in about 15 years, and so they become something we have to do. It doesn't actually contribute to our security very much, because all our security stack has all been coming out since then. So in the DoD, have you had to take on that challenge? Is there any guidance, leaders in that space? How do we kind of solve that problem where compliance really starts meaning something again, and your security policies at the enterprise agency level mean something?
It's a great question. I think for me, when I started, I never wanted to use waivers, and so we rewrite policy. And so everything we tackle, we go and fix the policy. I think if you're just going to waive stuff, it's going to be gone by the time I'm leaving, right? And so I'm not going to stay here forever, unfortunately. I want to be able to sleep again. So, for example, the cloud SLG from DoD CIO is being rewritten by my team and myself. So we're going to kind of fix the way we access cloud, and we let our partners access cloud at different impact levels. We're going to change the Stig process, so we actually provide things that are already Stigs, so you don't have to Stig stuff. And if there is a Stig, it's already a scripted thing that you can implement, right? So you have to actually think about it. It should be already baked in and done. So a lot of things like that are going to change, I think, with JEDI and with the cloud and with the DevSecOps stack. We just released the reference design for DevSecOps. So if you didn't have a copy of that, you can shoot me an email, and we can send you the copy of the reference design. We had 300,000 views on LinkedIn for a stupid document. That's pretty good.
There's one last question.
So Nick, we talked about this a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of silos of factories within the DoD software factories. I mean, how can we, leverage your best practices, especially at AppWorks, across the DoD and the IC?
So one thing we just did at the Air Force, and that's potentially already being used by all the services. We have two main teams. Cloud One is the cloud office for the Air Force. It's Azure Government and Amazon GovCloud at different impact levels, including classified environments. So we have that cloud office to be able, by the way, to get a VPC within a week with an ATO. So you get started, you can do your workload in a week, and it's already accredited, you can already use it. And then we have Platform One, which is a Platform One team, which is a DevSecOps team that can go on any environment. It does not have to be on Cloud One. They can come and instantiate a DevSecOps stack. They use infrastructure as code, so you can move anywhere. You pick your Kubernetes of choice. It could be OpenShift, it could be PKS, it could be VMware, it could be whatever, as long as it's compliant with the CNCF Kubernetes requirement. And we instantiate it at any classification levels, and then we ensure that we even have, for the first time ever, I don't know if people heard of that, but for the first time we were able to push containers from unclass to secret, unclass to TS with complete automation binaries, not just text files, right? So a little bit more complex. So that was done 2 weeks ago for the first time and approved. So we can do this now in DoD. So Platform 1 can actually come to any program. Let's say F-16 needs, not only we have a contract mechanism where they can get awards of licenses, talent, and cloud within 10 days, but they can also get access to baked-in containers and security and the whole team. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's a customized stack, so they pick the tools they want to use in the CI/CD pipeline, and the team comes and kind of make it a turnkey thing with a continuous CTO, train the team, go on site. So it's kind of merging, at least for the Air Force, it merged all the team into a Platform 1 team that now development teams can use to focus on their mission software.
Fantastic. So we're going to wrap up and just kind of, go back to the original thought here. First of all, it's a big thanks to the CyberScoop folks putting on DC Cyber Week. And at RunSafe, we saw an opportunity to bring together both Doug and Nicolas to talk through kind of the innovation they brought to the government in fulfillment of the mission and accelerate the adoption of technology. And certainly, security is a major aspect of all that. So thank you to Nicolas and for a great session, and thank you to Doug for a great session as well. So thank you all for coming, and we look forward to refreshments and additional conversation.